fans, Nick Nolenberger here with your Odessa Jackalope Weekend Preview. Been a while since we've done one of these, being that the Jacks have been on the road for the last 5 straight. On the roadie, they went 3-2-0. They won 1 of 3 out in Topeka, wrapped up the road trip with a weekend sweep against the Corpus Christi Ice Rays. First Friday night of last weekend at the American Bank Center, the Jacks get a 3-1 victory. They scored 2 goals in the first period to take the 2-0 early advantage. First, Noah Poindexter got on the board for his first North American Hockey League goal, and then John Russell collected his 4th of the year on a pretty finish on a breakaway to give the Jacks a 2-0 lead. Brendan Miller cut the lead down to 1 for Corpus in the second period to make it 2-1, but the Jacks were able to seal the win when Derek Brown potted the empty netter with less than a minute to go in the third period. In game number 2, the Jacks again scored first. They were 0 for 5 on the power play in game 1. Well, they make it 1 for 1 in game number 2. Pierce Plumer puts in his 8th of the year to give Odessa the early lead. Brad Liliev was able to tie the game for Corpus Christi, though, with less than a minute to go in the first period. In the second period, the Jacks made it 2 for 2 on the power play with a Hampus Schotel goal, his 35th of the year, and then they made it 3 for 3 on the power play when Danny Crowley was able to pot his 10th of the year, at the time giving the Jacks a 3-1 lead. The lead was cut down to 3-2. Corpus unable to get any more offense after that point as the Jacks hold on for all 4 points. The weekend sweep, they made it 4 in a row out at the American Bank Center after not winning a single game in that building last year. And the Jacks are also now 2 points ahead of the Ice Rays with just 4 games to go in the regular season. So the Jacks 54 points on the year to the Ice Rays 52 with 4 games to go, trying to hold on to that final Southern Division playoff spot. Their final 4 games for Odessa will be here at Ector County Coliseum, first with the 2 contests against Lone Star Friday and Saturday night this upcoming weekend, and then next weekend as they welcome in the Amarillo Bulls for the final 2 regular season games of the year. For Corpus Christi, they stay at home for a pair of games against Wichita Falls this upcoming weekend and then wrap up their regular season against the Wildcats out of the KYC the following weekend. For Corpus, they're just 1-7-0 against Wichita on the year, so they've got a big hill to climb if they want to get past the Jackalopes for the final playoff spot in the Southern Division. Doing our math, we realized if the Jacks can win 1 of 2 this weekend and Corpus loses both, Odessa will be in. If the Jacks win 2 of their next 4, no matter what the Ice Rays do, the Jacks will be in as well due to having the tiebreaker because currently they have 2 more wins than Corpus Christi. For the Jackalopes, they welcome in the Lone Star Brahmas, and of course this game has a little bit extra to say the least. The last time these 2 teams met up out at NITEC Sports Center on March 12th, we saw a full line brawl, 4 separate fights occurring all at once, resulting in a accumulated 168 minutes of penalties for both clubs. After the dust settled later in the week, the Jacks realized they would have 4 players suspended for their involvement in the fight. Also had head coach Greg Gatto suspended. Originally, Gatto's suspension was 4 games. It was eventually reduced down to 2. None of the players' suspensions were reduced, so this weekend the Jacks welcome back 2 of the 4 players suspended as Connor Wood and Matt Rippon will make their way back into the lineup, so kind of ironic they return back to the lineup against Lone Star, the team in which they played last and were suspended against. For Taylor Gatto and also Cooper Zek, they are not eligible to return until next weekend for the final 2 regular season games of the year. Noah Poindexter, who we mentioned, who scored in game number 1 on Friday night, will return to the Jackalopes lineup. He is currently just an affiliate, and he has to get 10 games under his belt to be considered on the roster. Unfortunately, he's going to come 1 game short. He will play in the final 4 games for the Jackalopes as he's driven from Michigan down here to Odessa to battle for the Jackalopes. Has been tremendous. It's 4 points, including a goal in 5 games for Odessa. He'll play in the final 4 games. He will not be eligible to play in the postseason, being that he's only played in 9 games. He'll play 9 total games when it's all said and done. Poindexter will be needed, though. He'll fill in another role as they add more depth on that front end, with the forwards being the Jacks are really rolling just 3 lines and an additional centerman. Poindexter will center either 2nd, 3rd, or 4th line for the Jackalopes. He's been sharp. He's got himself some power play time as well because he's been so consistent on the draws. The Jacks will also welcome in a tender, Louis Helson, a defenseman from HC Dallas in the NAPHL. He's a U18 product. In 25 games with HC Dallas, he had 4 goals and 8 assists. He's 6 foot tall, 178 pounds. He will most likely be a full-time participant on the Jackalope roster next year, but he'll get a little bit of taste at this level this upcoming weekend. He's scheduled to play and be in the lineup for Friday night's game. We'll see if he gets starts in both nights, and that'll shake up a little bit of the back end. Most likely, a Jack defenseman will be scratched and will keep you up to date with that, of course, when it nears game time and we get the official word from head coach Greg Gatto. Of course, this upcoming weekend is Shriners Weekend, biggest weekend of the year for the Jackalopes, expecting one of the largest crowds. Specialty jerseys will be worn in both games. The Jacks will wear those Shriners jerseys that they wore back on March 15th against the Amarillo Bulls. To note, a 4-1 victory, so the Jacks are hoping for the same success in those unis. They'll auction them off following Saturday's game. I'll be auctioning them off right after the conclusion of the game. Following the auction, the Jacks will have a dueling pianos as well. So a lot of action going on. A barbecue cook-off will be happening on Saturday. It starts at 3 o'clock. If you want to participate in that, $25 to be part of the barbecue cook-off and the chili cook-off. It begins at 3 is when people will be tasting. So people are going to be cooking starting Friday night, early Saturday morning, big Shriners weekend. Last 3 years, the Jacks have donated over $50,000 to the Shriners of Odessa. This year, they'll be taking all the money out to Galveston, the Shriners Hospital out there for the Burn Center. So a great cause the Jackalopes are supporting. We're hoping to raise that same amount of money and maybe even more. The last 3 years it's been $50,000. This is the 7th year of the Shriners weekend. It started at just $8,000 and now it's been $50,000 for the last 3 consecutive years. So come on out. If you haven't got your tickets, you can do so by calling 432-552-7825. Visit jackalopes.org or stop on by here at Ector County Coliseum, 4201 Andrews Highway. If you can't make the weekend, of course, tune in on the flagship station of the Jackalopes, Classic Rock 102.1 FM. Watch on fasthockey.com. That's your Jackalope weekend preview. I'm Nick Nollenberg. So long, we'll let you go, and we'll see you at the rink this weekend between the Jacks and the Browns.